Bhadrakali, the giver of good fortune. In what would become the eastern section of Kathmandu was a small farm owned by a poor family. The farmer would set to work in his fields early each morning, leaving a cloth bundle holding his lunch underneath a tree. One day during the spring planting, the farmer sat beneath the tree and opened the cloth. Inside, instead of the usual rice flour loaf of bread baked by his wife the previous day, the farmer found a small gold bar. This occurred again for the next several days, making the farmer and his family quite wealthy. In another account, a tantric practitioner named Sasvat Bhaja traveled to the temple of Kamaru, Kamachya in India, and worshipped the Divine Mother in the form of Sri Bhadrakali, the benevolent Kali. The goddess was pleased by his worship and came to Nepal with him, contained in a holy water pot or kalesh. Once again, the farmer's field outside the city, he went to run some errands and hung the pot upon a tree. Kalika, the Divine Mother, left the water pot and took the form of a small girl and walked away. The farmer met her on his way to the field and questioned her, but she lay down below the tree and fell asleep, and the farmer walked away. The farmer could not find her when he returned, but saw the Divine Mother, Kalika, standing in the same spot. Her skin was blue in color, and she squatted with one foot on Lord Bhairava, the wrathful form of Shiva, and the other foot upon the goddess Kalaratri, meaning the darkness of night. Both assumed Bhujangasana, the cobra pose. In her eight hands she held a curved skinning blade or kartika, a damaru drum, a sword, a small shield, a trident, and a severed head of a demon. In her seventh hand she held a skull cup filled with nectar, and the eighth she held the mudra of dispelling fear. Her face was peaceful and motherly. Then Sasvat Bharja also saw the goddess, and the place was established as the temple of Bhadrakali. In yet another legend, a priest had a vision of the Divine Mother telling him to dig into the soil of the same field. Following her directions, he dug a hole in the same spot and found a stone image of Ma Bhadrakali. And I'm actually going to show you the photo. The Bhadrakali temple was built in 1870. The temple consists of a sunken courtyard surrounded by a sculpted metal fence. Around the main sanctuary are several smaller stone shrines. Bhadrakali is known as Lumadi Ahima, the mother or grandmother of the golden loaves, and she is worshipped by those seeking good fortune and success in their endeavors. Bhadrakali is also the patron deity of the Nepali army, and this is an illustration of the Bhadrakali temple. I took this photo last time I was there in 2018. There's an additional story that's attached to what I was just sharing with you. So, in the late 1700s, what was becoming the Kingdom of Nepal was being invaded by the armies of an outside kingdom. And when word got to that army that Bhadrakali was in Nepal, that army turned around and marched back from whence they came. And hence, this is why Bhadrakali is the patroness of the Nepali army. Namaste and welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado. This is Yamajit, and thank you so very much for joining me this evening for our Tuesday satsang. This is part 11 of our series, Kali for Everyone. And we are honoring tonight Ma Bhadrakali, the second form of Kali, worshipped in the Kathmandu Valley. Last week, we honored Svetakali, the white Kali. Tonight, Bhadrakali. So I'd like to say a little bit about Bhadrakali and the form in which we see her. Again, she is in the rather gaunt form of Ma Chamunda. She is seated again in a birth-giving posture upon two figures. And they're both, again, in a form of Bhujangasana or cobra pose. Sometimes these figures are shown in facing opposite directions. And this indicates the importance of keeping our consciousness in the present moment, not in the past, not in the future, but in the present. In one hand, she is holding a kartika, or a flaying blade. And this is something that was really more common to Tibetan Buddhism. And really, these forms of Kali have a lot in common with the goddesses of Tibetan Buddhism, including the holding of the Kartika, also known as a Driguk, or the blade of the Dakinis. And this is the type of blade that would be used in a sky burial ritual. The hook at the end of the Kartika represents the divine's ability to hook our attention. She's also holding a damaru drum, like this one. Traditionally, the one I'm about to show you, is made from two human skulls. And the damaru represents the rhythms of the universe, the progression of time. She has the sword for cutting away our ego attachments. The Kartika is also associated with stripping us of our attachments. She also has the small shield for the protection of her children. The trident, which represents creation, preservation, and destruction, and also the three main energy channels of the body, Ida, Pingla, and Shushumna, and also the three divine functions of Icha Shakti, the power of will, Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge, and Kriya Shakti, the power of action. And then the severed head of the demon. This is one of our inner demons. She's again holding the gesture of dispelling fear, Abhaya Mudra. We talked about that Friday during our 64 Yogini presentation. And she's holding a Kapala, or a skull cup, for the transformation of consciousness. These forms of Kali also wear a crown of 5 skulls. And I want to say a little bit more tonight about this particular feature because it represents the transformation of 5 poisons into 5 wisdoms. And so the 5 poisons are jealousy, desire or attachment, pride, anger, and then the last one is delusion, also sometimes described as ignorance. And these poisons are transformed into, jealousy is transformed into all accomplishing wisdom. Desire or attachment is transformed into the wisdom of discernment. Pride is transformed into the wisdom of equality. Anger into mirror-like wisdom, and delusion/ignorance into dharmadhatu wisdom. And this is the wisdom of the Dharma, the wisdom of the ultimate truth. And this is another thing we have in common, really, is joined with Tibetan Buddhism, because the Tibetan deities, many of the Tibetan deities, especially the wrathful ones like Troma Nagmo here, have that same crown of 5 skulls. Like Svetakali, she has the gaunt, rather skeletal appearance. And this is another Bhadrakali image. Most of the time, if you find a Kali image when you're shopping around Kathmandu, Bhadrakali is most likely the one that you're going to find. And you'll notice if on her stomach here, we see again the coiled Kundalini serpent moving upwards, just as we did on the image of Svetakali. And then something I'm going to point out about this particular Svetakali image we have on our altar is we know that she is made by the same artist who made our Svetakali image. And the reason we do, it's going to be kind of hard to see on the camera, but on the top of her head is the same little owl sitting on the crown of her forehead. And again, the owl is a bird which is sacred to Kali in the form of Chamunda. And then again, we see Bhadrakali squatting in a birth-giving position upon two figures. And this is pretty much identical with what we see with Vajrayogini, the Tibetan female Buddha. She too is dancing upon two figures. And so we really see a strong syncretism between Hinduism and Buddhism in the Kathmandu Valley. So Ma Bhadrakali is a very giving, benevolent goddess. We see the same very comforting motherly or motherly expression upon her face, but she is also very fierce, and especially fierce toward our inner demons. And keep in mind, when the Divine Mother kills, quote unquote, kills or slays one of our inner demons, what she's really doing is liberating that energy from its afflicted state, so it can then manifest itself in a more holistic, in a more healthy manner. Before I say any more, I'd like to say namaste to Elizabeth and to RW and to Jamie. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. Glad you're here. And anybody else who happens to be tuning in, please feel free to say hello using the chat function on the bottom of your screen. Also, like Svetakali, we see the third eye in the center of her forehead. So her consciousness goes well beyond normal waking consciousness as well. And we also see the necklace of 50 skulls for each of the characters in the Sanskrit alphabet. So the power of the word, the power of mantra. And we see that same necklace of skulls in the Tibetan versions of the Great Mother again. So when we look at especially Vajrayogini and Bhadrakali, we see a lot of influence on one to the other. Jai Ma Bhadrakali. Jai Ma Bhadrakali. Jai Ma Bhadrakali. So, as I mentioned last week, our exploration into the goddesses of the Kathmandu Valley is really breaking down, and hopefully we're making some discoveries in this very powerful mantra of Shakta, that is goddess-centered Hinduism. And the mantra we're going to use this evening is Hrim. So in the Navarna mantra of Shakta Hinduism, Om Aing Rim Klim Chamundai Viche, Aing is associated with Svetakali. And Aing is also very much a Sarasvati mantra. It's associated with creation, just as Svetakali, as I said last week, is known as the mother of creation. And so Hrim is very closely associated with the divine function of preservation, of sustenance. And so, in other words, just as Aing is associated with Sarasvati, Hrim also has associations with Mahalakshmi. I'm going to read a little bit from my third book in my Kali meditation series on the Hrim mantra. The mantric syllable Hrim, sometimes spelled Hrim or Hreem, is regarded as the equivalent of the mantra Om in Shakta or goddess-centered Hinduism. It can also relate to the function of the Divine Mother as the preserver and the sustainer, hence its relationship to both Lakshmi as well as Bhadrakali. And then I'm going to share with you a short article from Yogapedia on this same mantra. Yogapedia explains Hrim. Hrim is often likened with Om, the sacred vibration which represents Brahman and the sound of the universe. Although Bij mantras are typically not translatable, Hrim can be broken down into several sounds of symbolic significance. Ha is symbolic of Shiva, one of the main Hindu deities and really the masculine principle. Ra represents Prakriti, or nature in all of its forms. E represents Mahamaya, the mother of the universe. And then the ending syllable is the sound of Brahman, or universal consciousness. So that's just a little bit on the Hrim mantra. So we'll be using that as our puja mantra, and then we'll be doing some repetitions of that mantra during our meditation as well. Hopefully you have your puja set handy. And if not, please follow along at least on a mental level. Do what's called a manasa puja and imagine yourself actually giving these offerings to the Divine Mother yourself as well. So let's begin by sitting in a comfortable position. Position where our back is straight. Maybe roll the shoulders back to open the chest so our breath can be full. And look upon your screen and the image of Bhadrakali with a relaxed gaze, and begin to breathe deeply. Letting go of the concerns of the past, letting go of the worries and anxieties about the future. One of the things that Ma Bhadrakali teaches us, seated on these two figures, is the importance of focusing on the present moment. One of my early teachers actually described present-centeredness as a very special and unique altered state of consciousness, really an altered state of consciousness because we are in that state so rarely. And it's in that present-centered state that a lot of healing, a lot of very natural healing can take place. And also the most amazing insights can come to us as well. Especially those insights and that realization of that divine presence within ourselves. So as you breathe, I invite you to focus on your heart center. Breathing in and out of that center within yourself. Connecting with that divine presence within you. And know that by taking part in this practice, you're strengthening that connection with the divine. And always, I invite you to think of some aspect of your life that is in need of healing or transformation or the gaining of knowledge. And just know that in taking part in our practice tonight, you're taking a very strong step in that healing, in that resolution, in receiving that wisdom that you need. And you can also think of somebody else close to you who may be in need of something at this time as well, or the collective in general. And then I invite you to slowly bring the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And let's begin our practice by chanting that Bij mantra, that seed mantra, Reem, 3 times. Deep inhale. Reem. 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 Taking a spoon with some water. Reem. Placing it in your right hand and cleansing your hands. Reem. With your right hand, anointing your third eye and your heart center. Reem. Taking a spoonful of water and cleansing your altar. Reem. Taking the bottle of perfume, placing some on your middle or your ring finger. Reem. And anointing the third eye of your devotional image. Reem. And that can also include those which you might be mounted on. Reem. Taking the food with your right hand and circling it 3 times. Reem. And placing it on the altar, offering it to the deity. Reem. Lighting your candle or your lamp. Reem. And taking up the flame, circling it 3 times and offering it. Reem. And offering it to the deity. Reem. And lighting the incense from the flame. Reem. And circling it 3 times. Reem. And offering the incense for the air element. Reem. And finally offering a flower. Reem. Bringing the palms of your hands together at your heart center and bowing. Reem. then I invite you to continue chanting with me the mantra Hrim, or you can meditate quietly. You can also let this be an open-eyed meditation focusing upon the deity, Trataka meditation, or you can close your eyes and go within. Either way. Let the mantra carry your consciousness where it needs to be. Hrim. 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 Allow yourself now to continue breathing deeply. Just meditate from a place of stillness and silence. Feeling the mantra illuminating your heart center and your awareness of that divine presence within. And feel it also giving life to your personal intention for this practice. Then offering your mala, offering your flower. Bringing the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And again, acknowledging that divine presence within yourself, knowing that she is there to guide you always. And take a moment to also give gratitude to yourself for taking part in this practice this evening. Knowing you can repeat this mantra at any time when you have need. And then slowly opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Namaste. Blessings always. Thank you so much for joining me this evening in Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Namaste. So I hope that you enjoyed that. And as always, I would advise you to take some time for some quiet contemplation before resuming the day's activities. I'd like to say a little bit more about our mantra, Hrim. You might have noticed last week the Aing mantra really resonates well with the third eye center, the highest part of the body. And likewise, the Hrim mantra has strong associations to our heart chakra center. And in fact, Hrim is also the seed mantra for Ma Bhuvaneshwari, one of the 10 Mahavidya goddesses. And Bhuvaneshwari is really Ma Kali in the form of the nurturing and healing mother. And she has strong associations with the heart chakra as well. So, needless to say, next Tuesday, when we honor Ma Dakshin Kali, the third of the three Kalis, our mantra Kleem is really going to focus us on our lower extremities as well. I'd like to invite you to join me Friday night, 7 p.m. It'll be our monthly Yoga Nidra practice. I'll be sharing with you a Yoga Nidra meditation from the style of the Bihar school of yoga. This is the Yoga Nidra that was developed by Swami Satyananda Sarasvati. Really, this was the beginning of modern Yoga Nidra practice. And we're going to be doing a special visualization as part of that Yoga Nidra for the Saptamatrika, the seven little mother goddesses. And you'll have an opportunity to visualize these seven forms of the Divine Mother as a part of the meditation. So I look forward to you joining me, 7 p.m. again. You can join me on YouTube, and you're always welcome to join me here at our temple, 1260 South Xavier Street in Denver, Colorado. So looking forward to Friday. I want to thank everybody for being here. That includes Elizabeth and RW and Jamie as well, and anybody else who is watching live. And also my thanks to anybody who'll be watching the recordings of this broadcast in the future. So until next time, Jai Mata Di. Jai Mata Di. Jai Mata Di. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful night. Jai Ma.